Within 5 minutes of the Pentagon being hit, the first group from the FBI's National Capital Response Squad arrives there. Due to this being a terrorist attack, the Pentagon and its grounds are immediately declared a federal crime scene. Under the terms of a 1995 presidential directive, this makes the exclusive responsibility of the FBI. The FBI immediately begins collecting evidence and is also responsible for recovering bodies. Its agents are able to confiscate security videos from a nearby gas station, Citgo, within minutes of the crash. More than 700 FBI agents, assisted by hundreds of individuals from other organizations, will participate in the recovery operation. By 10:45, coroner of Shanksville, Wallace Miller, in Somerset County, is one of the first people to arrive at the Flight 93 crash scene. However, he is surprised by the absence of human remains there. He will later be quoted as, "If you didn't know, you would have thought that no one was on the plane. You'd have thought they dropped off somewhere," end quote. The only recognizable body part he sees is a piece of spinal cord with 5 vertebrae attached. He will later tell Australian newspaper The Age, quote, "I've seen a lot of highway fatalities where there's fragmentation. The interesting thing about this particular case is that I haven't, to this day, in 11 months, seen a single drop of blood, not a drop," end quote. Dave Fox, a former firefighter, also arrives early at the crash scene, but sees just 3 chunks of human tissue. He would later tell the Pittsburgh Tribune, quote, "You knew there were people there, but you couldn't see them," end quote. Yet in the following weeks, thousands of searchers are able to find 1,500 scorched human tissue samples weighing less than 600 pounds, approximately 8% of the total body mass on Flight 93. Months after 9/11, more remains are found in a secluded cabin several hundred yards from the crash. One day after 9/11, the New York Times will report that FBI agents in Florida investigating hijackers quickly descended on flight schools, neighborhoods, and restaurants in pursuit of leads. As one flight school said, quote, "Students and investigators were there within hours of Tuesday's attacks," end quote. Also on September 12th, the New York Times will report authorities said they had identified accomplices in several cities who helped plan and execute Tuesday's attacks. Officials said they knew who these people were and important biographical details about many of them. They prepared biographies of each identified member of the hijacked teams and began tracing the recent movements of the men. 9/11 victims' relative Kristen Breitweiser, testifying before the 9/11 congressional inquiry, will cite these news reports and will ask, how did the FBI know exactly where to go only a few hours after the attacks? How did they know which neighborhoods, which flight schools, and which restaurants to investigate so soon in the case? How were complete biographies of the terrorists and their accomplices created in such time? Did our intelligence agencies already have open files of these men? Were they already investigating them? Could the attacks on September 11th have been prevented? In at least some cases, it appears that U.S. intelligence did quickly access existing files on hijackers. The Washington Post will later report, quote, "In the hours after Tuesday bombings, investigators searched their files on Saddam al-Saskami and Ahmed al-Ghami, noted that the pair's ties to Nabil al-Mar from Boston had launched a hunt for him," end quote. The top customs officials will claim that by checking flight manifests and comparing them with other information, such as watch lists, he is able to determine the names of all 19 hijackers by 11 a.m. on September 12th. Later in the day of September 11, 2001, weapons are found planted on board other U.S. airliners. A U.S. official will later say of the hijackings, "These look like inside jobs." Time magazine will report, quote, "Sources tell Time that U.S. officials are investigating whether the hijackers had accomplices deep inside the airport's secure areas," end quote. Penetrating airport security does not appear to have been that difficult. Frank Argenbright, who's in charge of Argenbright Company, the company in charge of security at all the airports used by the 9/11 hijackers, had virtually no security checks on any of their employees and even hired criminals and illegal immigrants. Security appears to have been particularly abysmal at Boston Logan's Airport, even after 9/11.